Sometimes when it is very cold and wet in the garden, it isn't very nice for small creatures, especially insects. Now we're going to find out why. This story is called The Queen Bee. It was very, very wet in the garden of Heatherfield Farm. It had been raining for 3 days, and everywhere was very soggy. Even the worms had wriggled out from under the earth to lie on the surface of mud and grass because their homes were flooded. The Tiddlewit twins, Pickle and Pumpkin, were desperate to go out and play, but Mrs. Tiddlewit told them to stay indoors. "I don't want you going out there getting all wet and muddy," she said. "I can only dry your clothes when the sun is shining, so you'll just have to be patient." Mr. Tiddlewit wasn't happy either. "I do hope all this rain isn't hurting my flowers. They've already had too much to drink, and now they're going to be all floppy. I can see I'm going to have a lot of work to do when the rain finally goes away." Well, the rain did go away one night when all the Tiddlewits were sound asleep in their beds. Early in the morning they were awoken by the happy singing of blackbirds, thrushes, a great tit, and their friend, the little robin. "Ooh, something's going on out there," said Mr. Tiddlewit, putting one foot out of bed to search for his slippers. "I'd better see what it is." "Yes, you go and do that," said Mrs. Tiddlewit drowsily, as she turned over under the warm duvet, put her head under a pillow, and went back to sleep. It was rather dark inside their little home under the old oak tree. "Ow! Drat and graggies!" Mr. Tiddlewit cursed as he bumped into a chair and then the kitchen table. It hurt his big toe, but finally he found the front door. He was very careful opening it because he thought a lot of rainwater would come rushing in. Instead, he found himself blinking in bright sunshine. Steam was rising gently from the ground as the sun warmed it, drying up all the rain that had fallen. It was still very wet, and there were lots of puddles around. Suddenly, Pickle appeared, leaning against Mr. Tiddlewit's right leg. "Whoopee!" he said. "Now we can go out and play. I'm going to jump splash and splosh in all those puddles." Well, the twins had to wait until Mrs. Tiddlewit had got out of bed and given them their breakfast. They gobbled down their porridge as fast as they could, and then rushed to put on their Wellingtons. Mrs. Tiddlewit also told them to wear their hats in case it rained again. The twins were so happy to be outside. They had done nothing for 3 days, and now had so much energy that they had to run, jump, shout and splash through every puddle they could find, and there were lots of them. Well, this went on for some time until Pumpkin finally stopped. "Phew!" he said. "I need to slow down a bit. I'm a bit sweaty and out of breath." Pickle did the same. He needed to have a little rest too. So the two boys decided to have a walk, going to their favourite place next to the big pond. When they got to the big pond, they found it was very full because of all the rain. "The tadpoles are going to like that," commented Pumpkin. But as he said that, he thought he heard a strange noise. It was a kind of weak buzzing. Bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. "Did you hear that?" said Pumpkin to his brother. "Yes," Pickle replied. "Let's go and investigate." The two boys headed off in the direction of where they thought the buzzing was coming from. As they got closer, Pumpkin said, "I've got a horrible feeling that someone or something is in trouble." He was right. Turning a corner just past a large thistle, they saw what looked like a large yellow and black shape shivering under a fallen leaf. "Careful," said Pickle. "It might be dangerous." Indeed, it could have been very dangerous, because it was a large bumblebee. It looked like it was trapped and couldn't move. The boys looked very worried. "What shall we do?" cried Pumpkin. "I don't know," Pickle replied, "but Daddy will know what to do. Quick, we had better go and fetch him." The boys turned round and started to run all the way back to the old oak tree. When they got there, they found Mr. Tittlewit outside cleaning some mud off his boots. "Daddy, Daddy, come quick! We found a big bumblebee, and it's in a lot of trouble." "What do you mean it's in trouble?" asked Mr. Tittlewit, doing up his trouser belt more tightly, as if getting ready for action. "It's trapped and buzzing very weakly. I think we're going to have to cut it free." Mr. Tittlewit went immediately into their house and came out with a large pair of strong garden scissors. "Okay, children, lead on," he commanded. For a moment, Pickle and Pumpkin could not remember where they had left the bumblebee. "I think we're lost," Pickle wailed. "Don't worry, son," said Mr. Tittlewit. "What do you remember of the place? What did you see there?" "There was a very big thistle there," said Pumpkin anxiously. "Ah, I think I know where it is," said Mr. Tittlewit. "Follow me, lads." Very soon they found the big thistle, and close by was the bumblebee, buzzing even more weakly now. "My, oh my!" cried Mr. Tittlewit. "Looks like we've got a bit of a problem here." "Careful, Daddy, it might sting," Pickle warned. "Don't worry, boy. Bumblebees don't usually sting people. This one knows it needs help." Mr. Tittlewit could see the bumblebee was caught in a spider's web that had dropped to the ground. The bumblebee was so entangled that the more it struggled, the more it couldn't move. "Let's see what we can do with these scissors," said Mr. Tittlewit, as he began to snip away at the spider's web. It took a few minutes, with both boys helping to carry away all the sticky strands that their father was cutting away. Finally, the bumblebee was free, and it spoke for the first time. "Bzz, bzz, thank you so much for rescuing me. If you hadn't done it, I would have died. Bzz, bzz, I am so grateful." As soon as the Tittlewits heard the voice, they realized the bee was a lady. There was something else. She sounded very important. Now she began to stretch her legs and shake her wings, but she was still too frail to move very far. "Bzz, bzz, I'm afraid I've lost all my energy, and the wet has made me very cold. Bzz, bzz, I don't think I will be able to fly home." "Right," said Mr. Tittlewit, as he decided what next to do. "What you need is to get dry and to have something to eat. Pumpkin, run home and tell Mummy and Seraphine to bring towels and a blanket. Pickle, come with me. We're going to get some food." Then, turning to the bumblebee, Mr. Tittlewit said, "Don't worry, madam. We'll soon have you sorted out and buzzing away strongly." The boys and Mr. Tittlewit then set off in their separate directions, Pumpkin to the old oak tree, and Mr. Tittlewit and Pickle to the flower beds. They moved very quickly. When Mr. Tittlewit and Pumpkin arrived at the flower beds, they headed straight for the nasturtium flowers. Now, nasturtium flowers produce lots of very sweet nectar, and nectar is what bumblebees drink and eat all the time. Mr. Tittlewit spoke to the nasturtium flowers. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have come to ask you for some help. We have found a lady bumblebee who is not very well, and she is very hungry. Can we please have some of your nectar?" The nasturtium flowers were only too happy to help, because all bees are their friends. When bees visit flowers to take their nectar, they also take their pollen, and then they give that pollen to other flowers. That's what helps those flowers to make fruit and seeds. If the bees did not do that, there would be no fruit and no new flowers. The work bees do with flowers is very, very, very important. So bees help flowers, and flowers help the bees. The Tittlewits were able to fill an acorn cup full of sweet syrupy nectar. "Thank you so much, nasturtium flowers," they said, as they raced back in search of the bumblebee. By the time they got there, they found Seraphine and Mrs. Tiddlewit had dried the bee's wings and its black and yellow fur. They had placed a blanket over her and were now cuddling the bee to try and make her warm. By now the sun was high in the sky and bringing its own warmth. After an hour the bumblebee began to stir. Her wings began to move, then to flutter, and soon they were beating faster than the eye could see. "Buzz, buzz! Oh, I feel so much better," she said. "Let's see what I can do." Seraphine and Mrs. Tiddlewit took the blanket off the bumblebee and stood back. The bee's wings began to buzz strongly. She took her first steps. She stumbled, but got up again. Then she took off for a few moments into the air before landing heavily on some grass. She tried again. This time, flying higher and higher, she circled, looking strong. "Buzz, buzz, thank you," she buzzed, and then disappeared over flowers, tall grasses, hedges, and small trees. "Well, Tiddlewits," Mr. Tiddlewit said, puffing out his chest and looking very proud, "that was a job well done. I think we should all go home now and have a piece of cake." For some months the Tiddlewits didn't hear anything more about the Lady Bumblebee. In fact, they forgot all about her. But then, one day, Seraphine, who was working in the kitchen, heard a lot of loud buzzing outside the old oak tree. "I wonder what that is," she said. So she went to the front door and opened it a little bit. She had a very big surprise. "Mummy, Daddy, boys!" she shouted. "Come and look at this!" Everyone raced to the front door. Outside there was a swarm of bees filling up acorn cups with honey in some and beeswax in others. When they had finished, the chief bee flew in front of the Tiddlewits and said, "Buzz, buzz, honoured friends, you saved our queen, and you tend our flowers. She has commanded us to bring you these gifts." Then the bee bowed and turned in flight to lead all the other bees away. "Golly, golly," said Mr. Tiddlewit, trying to make sense of what he had just seen and heard. "I thought that bumblebee we rescued was important, but I never thought she could be a queen." "What marvellous gifts these are," said Mrs. Tiddlewit, looking very pleased. "Now I have enough honey for my cakes, and I will use the beeswax to make candles." Indeed, the Tiddlewits would always have enough honey and beeswax, because the bees often came back to give them more. Thanks to the bees, the Tiddlewits' little home would always have light inside, so that Mr. Tiddlewit would never stub his toe in the dark trying to find the front door.